Hi guys, look who we have here today.
Hi.
Silvia. Silvia, where are we?
We are in Ostiense today, another district that is full of street art, as you can see from our background.
Okay.
It's one of the first neighborhoods where really the street art phenomenon started in Rome, so it's really interesting. Ostiense is a neighborhood that is next to the Basilica of St. Paul in Rome, and there is also a university, so it's a very young scene here.
Okay, so university neighborhood with, I assume, everything that goes with it.
Yeah, it's very active always. There is always something new. There are many pubs and clubs and places to hang out.
And street art, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, we're gonna look at the street art today.
So here we have the building of the Ostiense Photography. It's a cultural center about the developing of the power of images. So this was one of the places where they started one of the festivals, outdoor festival in 2012, to dedicate to photography. Most of the quotes that you see written by Bruce, an expert on lettering, behind me. So for instance, this one is really nice. Angiada, in Italian ho sempre pensato che la fotografia fosse come una barzelletta, se la devi spiegare non è venuta bene. Among the quotes, I think this is probably the nicest about photography. It says that if a photo has to be explained exactly like a joke, it means it is not well done. So this is a very recent work, and it's all based on the depiction of the landscape of this neighborhood, Ostiense, that is mostly dominated by the gasworks. It's a symbol of this area, and it's called the Steel Colossus.
So basically, here we see just a part of the wall that used to stand here. They had to knock a part of it down because of the construction work in the area.
This one is about this feeling that we have always to smile, always to be positive, always to be on. That is like a must now. And here you see that there are buttons to smile, to be happy, to like. So like that is a sort of so it's like it's a work to be happy, to smile, to take pictures, and to transform reality into life, and instead of okay, you have KO. Okay, so over here we have a building that was formerly the Acea department. The Acea is the Department of Power and Water, and it was lately occupied by squatters, as you can see. So it was depicted by Blue. Blue is always very sensitive to this kind of situation, and in some way he wants to protect the possibility of these people to stay there by transforming their building in a work of art. So for respect of art, instead of people, maybe they will not be chased, which was not the case in this occasion. Anyway, the subject is about traffic, the problem of traffic. Here we are on Via Ostiense, and usually there are big traffic jams here, and so while you are stuck in your car, you can have a look and you can see that we are all enchained in this traffic jam, and there is a lock, and you have to find a key to solve this. So you see the bell tower of the Basilica of St. Paul, and until the beginning of the 20th century the Basilica was the only element of this landscape. There was nothing between the Basilica and the beginning of the road that is in Piramide. There was a plan of a canal, an artificial canal connecting
Ostia.
Rome and this side to Ostia, to the sea. So this would have been the industrial area of Rome, connected directly to the harbor.
To the port, yeah.
That was the idea. The problem is that all this project started around 1920, and then with the beginning of the First World War, everything was stopped, and then plans changed, and very few factories were realized in the end. This was sponsored by the Society of Water and Electricity, and it's by Diamond and Solo. It's a duo, they are close friends. There's image dedicated to the power of energy, basically. You can see that you have a flame coming out from the fingers. And it's the style of Diamond is typical, the Liberty style. It is inspired by the beginning of the 20th century painters.
Art Nouveau?
Art Nouveau, yes, exactly. While on the other side, the style of Solo is more about comics and these characters.
Yeah, it's more like pop art.
Pop art, yes. So they are putting these two styles together, these two inspirations together here.
So actually there are two of these puppies in the area. One, so Sylvia says there are actually three of them that have been out of use since the 60s, right?
Yeah, exactly, and they became, what we say, industrial archaeology. But now they are just the symbol of this side of Rome and this dream of Rome to become an industrial city, to produce something. That is something that we have never done, basically, let's say it. We just consume stuff. We don't produce anything. Rome was meant to be a capital and organizing the life of other people, not to produce something for themselves. In fact, this project failed. So just next we have one of the biggest wall. This was realized during a festival, so it was important to finish it in a very short amount of time, 3 days. And so this guy from the UK asked for help of anybody that could roll some colors. And the sentence is interesting because it's sort of homage of the Roman philosophy of life. It's a way of saying, you know, maybe you cannot totally fix it, but you can put a patch on problems. And this is in a Roman slang what we would say mettici una pezza. So it's exactly this idea of patching it when you don't have all the resources to really make it new.
It's like a makeshift solution that's gonna just take care of the problem temporarily, but it's not really fixing the problem.
Yeah, and it's usually lasting forever, even if it's planned to be temporary. This was loved by the residents, by the young people. The significance of the piece have been appreciated, and really we feel that it represents us, the Romans.
Yeah, so people like their own philosophy, being stuck on the wall.
It's a sort of philosophy here in Rome. I mean, we know that the city is very complicated, a lot of problems. You cannot really solve completely, but you can start fixing little by little, keeping what is ruined also, because this is the history of our city. We don't want to forget the past, we want to fix it. There was a period in the 80s in which really it's a hopeless area because the industry never started, the university was not there yet, and there was no reason to come here. Now a lot of startup and new Academy of Fine Arts students is very lively. So in fact the street art is a movement that wants to also enhance this kind of new interest in areas that otherwise would be just neglected.
Sylvia, I've just discovered there is 4 of these guys. 1, 2, 3. You see the one over there?
Oh,
and
there's
then
another
4.
one. 4. Okay, they are popping up.
Yeah.
Like Just around the corner we have another big work by Iacurci, and he's an illustrator. I really like his style, very well defined, and at first glance it looks like something very peaceful, but in fact the title here is Fish and Chips, so clearly a reference to water. We are very close to the river and to the harbor of the river.
Fiskeria, meaning fish market.
Exactly. Right? So now it's a restaurant. Another big work at the corner of two streets. So you have to find a good spot to see it all together. It's an homage to the cartoons of Cartoon Networks, because this is the office of this company and they commission it. And it's nice because there are two different ends. So we have Mr. Clevra that usually specializes in icons and old style paintings. He often represents Madonnas and saints, and he is the one doing the monochrome of the two fingers touching, clearly a reference to Michelangelo creation in the Sistine Chapel. But the creation here is the creation of funny characters and all these cartoons leading actors that are very colorful by another artist. They are both from Ostia here in Rome, and it is Omino 71. So we can recognize the different characters, the different TV series from the old ones, the first of this form of art, up to most recent characters.
Now imagine living in a building with the Flintstones in it.
On this wall we have two opposite kind of perspective of the world. We have on one wall a series of very famous people, and then on the other side anonymous people. Here we have G.B. Rock, that was dedicated to people that inspired him in his life, each one for a letter of the alphabet, starting with Dante Alighieri. And then on the other side, usually Stan&Lex take inspiration from the yearbooks and to just have faces of people. And they don't really care to know the names and their stories.
So these are the famous folks.
A full alphabet of inspiring people.
Let's go. So I can recognize this one. This is Dante Alighieri.
Alighieri with A. And then
All right.
Notorious Big. And then we have a brother of the artist, that is Carlo. And Diamond is another street artist here in Rome. You can recognize E.
The king.
Yes.
All right.
And then we have the other brother, Federico. Rock. For G, we have Gagarin.
The astronaut.
And Jimi Hendrix. And then we have Iron Man. And Mila Jovovich.
This? Really? Yeah. All right.
You know
Frida
this
Kahlo.
one? L is Sergio Leone. M is Mama. And the signature J.B. Rock is here, of Mama. No, it's Narcos. Obama.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And this is Mob Deep from Prodigy. And Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
You know the next one.
Ray Charles.
And Spike Lee. And then the father of the artist, so the whole family was an inspiration for him.
Aha.
And Uma Thurman.
All right.
Rodolfo Valentino. Wojtyla, John Paul II.
The Pope.
Malcolm X. Yoko Ono.
Oh. Okay.
And the last one would be Zorro, but in fact it's a self-portrait of the artist himself.
Aha.
This is one of the commissioned works by the owners of the apartment. The rule is that if everybody agrees on having this work done, you can paint any building in the city, and this was a huge job. It's by Jena Cruz, and it's against pollution. And in fact, they use a special paint that apparently absorbs pollution. You have been here,
Wow,
this crossroad is really a mess all the time usually.
Yeah.
Creating a
It's
jam.
August now and Rome is deserted because all Romans, like for the most part, Romans leave during August. They are just not in the city. But this one here is normally one of the worst intersections in the city.
Yeah, and so that's why they needed to absorb all the pollution.
And you can basically forget about making a left turn here.
I do.
Yeah, but you're on your scooter, right?
Yes, that helps. So it's really something, a big, sort of a step ahead to the street art idea. So it's not just creative, but
It's also functional.
Yeah, just in front we have one of the first works. It's again blue. We have already seen the padlock. He's an artist that is based in Bologna, but he had worked a lot here in Rome with huge walls. As we said before, he was defending the squatters that were living here. This used to be completely abandoned to itself, so something like 200 families now living in here illegally. But
They're still in there?
in there, yeah. They also open in normal situations once a week to show the interior. They offer tea and they talk about their experience of community in there. And these big faces that are in some way exploiting the windows of the building as eyes of the characters are monsters that defend the resident from external attacks. Of course, the external attack is the legal attack by the policeman or anybody of the comune, the municipality that would like to expropriate.
Yeah.
We've done a video on this place earlier this year.
So over here we still have blue, and there is this big ship with some crane on it still going on building in a storm.
Okay. So he's trying to depict the chaos of construction in Rome.
Construction's going on even if there is a disaster all around and there are other problems to solve before going on.
I see. Oh, God, that's interesting.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
Abbiamo un cappuccino per lei? Per il signore?
per me.
Cappuccino scuro, perdonate.
Grazie.
Grazie mille a voi.
Grazie.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
Abbiamo un cappuccino?
Anzi, cappuccino scuro.
Cappuccino scuro, perdonate.
Popolare.